Greetings, everyone. My name is Jeremiah Graham. I'm the Technical Services Representative with the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and today I'll be giving you a brief introduction to IDMe and how you can create an online account for OMS purposes and access. Before we begin, please make sure that you are at our official website. The official URL for the Veterans of Foreign Wars is at www.vfw.org. That's www.vfw.org. And upon reaching our website, you'll notice the Veterans of Foreign Wars logo in the upper left-hand corner, as well as a slideshow relating all the latest news and updates within our organization. The first step you'll want to take is to click on the login option in the upper right-hand corner to bring up the member login screen. Once the member login screen is uploaded, you'll notice that there are three options for OMS access. The first half of the screen is the standard original login. If you have an OMS account prior to IDMe, you'll still be able to sign in with your standard email address and password. However, if your account has just been converted over to IDMe, or you've already created an IDMe account with another organization or with another partner, simply click on the second link on the screen that says Sign In with TroopID. This will bring up the IDMe sign-in screen that's only available for IDMe sign-in. And also, please remember that this first half of the screen that says email and password, this half is not available for IDMe users. IDMe users must select the Sign In with TroopID option to access their OMS accounts. However, if you are brand new to IDMe and you do not have an OMS account, or if you do not have a TroopID IDMe account, click on the third link on the screen beneath the question, "Are you a new user? Sign up with TroopID." This link will redirect you to the IDMe sign up page. Now that we've arrived at the IDMe sign up page to create a brand new IDMe account, you'll notice that there are three fields on this screen. The first field being the field to sign up by enlisting a personal email address for IDMe OMS access. Please be advised that the email address you choose must be a personal email address that only you have access to. We highly do not recommend using any shared email addresses or a business email address if you own one. The reason why you do not want to choose a shared email address is because if you choose an email address that's especially shared between members, that could cause some serious security as well as access sign-in issues for creating your account as well as for sign-in and verification. We also strongly advise against not using a business email address simply because if you use a business email address, there might be some firewall issues that could affect your ability to receive emails from IDMe, such as an important email dealing with resetting your password if ever needed. So now that that's been explained, please you'll want to choose a personal email address that you can remember and that you're definitely aware of, that you can gain access to if you ever need to reset your password or receive any other correspondence from IDMe. Now that we've chosen a personal email address for the account, we'll proceed to create a new password. The new password created for the account must follow the four prompts on the screen. The password must at least be 8 characters long with one uppercase letter, one lowercase letter, and one number. The password can be longer. There can be more letters or numbers within the password set if you choose to. We just strongly advise against using any special characters such as an exclamation point or a percentage sign, because that could also affect how you sign in, or even affect how your password is saved. All right, now that we know that the password matches all 4 points of criteria that IDMe requires, we'll now proceed to type in that password again in the confirm password box. Now that that password matches the original password in the original password box, just check off the first check mark on the screen that says I accept the IDMe terms of service and privacy policy. The second check mark is not required. If you are, however, interested in receiving any discounts or offers from any of IDMe's partners, feel free to check off that option. If you're not interested, you don't have to worry about it. Now that all three fields have been filled out and completed, click on the blue link to proceed to create a new IDMe account. However, since I've already created an IDMe account, there's no reason why I should create a second one. In fact, please do not attempt to create a second one if you have forgotten your password or your email address, because that can cause some serious verification issues in the future. So in this case, since I already have an IDMe account, I will click on the blue link on the top of this page to redirect me to the IDMe sign-in page. Now that I've arrived at the IDMe sign-in page, I will simply type in the email address and password associated with my already created IDMe account. All right, now that I've signed into my account, you'll notice that there's a screen here that says verify your military status. This verification screening appears before you enter our site for the first time. This verification screening is only for a one-time identity verification purpose, and it's not meant to verify your VFW membership. In fact, the main purpose of this verification is to verify that you are the member that you say that you are, in order to protect your identity against user fraud. Like I said, this screening here is meant to verify your identity for user access protection. Looking at the screen, you'll notice that there are 4 options for verification. You only have to choose one out of these 4 options for verification. In fact, you must choose the best verification option you believe works best with you. So for instance, if you are a USAA member, I recommend you select the confirm your USAA membership option, because this verification will verify your identity based upon your USAA membership. If you are an active service member, you can select the third option on the screen that says use a .mil email address. This verification only works if you have an active .mil email address. If you're trying to verify with a civilian .mil email address or an inactive .mil email address, verification will not go through. If you have in your possession a form of military documentation that's downloaded on your computer or is available as a download, you can verify your identity by choosing the upload military documentation option. However, please make sure that the documentation is legible, because if the documentation isn't legible, verification will not go through. And last but not least, the check military service records option, which is option number 2. This option works best by verifying the bare amount of information off of your DD-214. There is a request your DD-214 option that is available if verification doesn't go through with any of these 4 options, but we'll get to that in a minute. If you choose the check military service records option, it's going to, like I said, choose the bare amount of information that's available on your DD-214, such as an active duty service date, as well as your first and last name that is shown on your DD-214. And once the form is submitted to the IDMe verification department, and if they can find a digitized version of the documentation that you're requesting to verify with, the form that you submit will be digitally destroyed, and IDMe will send you a verification saying that you have been verified. So for the purpose of a quick run through for verification, I will select option number 2, which is the check military service records option. And we'll click begin to continue. Okay, now that I've arrived at the ID Me military record documentation screen, I will proceed to fill in all the necessary fields required to verify my identity, beginning with my current military affiliation, first and last name, a date of birth, which appears on the DD-214, and of course, my social security number. Please be aware that this information will not be saved or shared with another third party. It's just meant to verify your identity. And last of all, the active duty service date. I advise that for the active duty field that you choose an active duty service date that, well, actually choose the service date, the entry date that appears on your DD-214. Closer the date to that timeline on your DD-214, which would be the entry date, the better. If you have your DD-214 on you, I recommend you choose the entry date to enter in on this form instead, because it will give the form the best chance of verifying your identity for first time verification. Rather than proceeding to continue with verification, I will show you a brief demonstration flow on the IDMe developer page on what a successful verification will look like. I'll click on this service records flow. You're selecting the correct information, the correct first and last name, date of birth, and once the continue option is clicked on, you'll receive a notification if the verification form is correct that says Troop ID is now in your IDMe wallet, or you might receive a message saying you're verified. However, if verification isn't a success, there is an alternative way to verify your identity. And I'll show you that option as we proceed to verify the form we already have filled in. As you can see, verification was not a success. We received a message saying we couldn't verify your information. And below this message, there are 4 other options to complete with verification. Well, to correct myself, there are the same 3 verification options, but there's a 4th option that's new, which is the request your DD-214 option. This option right here is very similar to the check military service record option. The only difference is the fact that it's going to request for more information on your DD-214 to really make sure that the information entered in the form really matches a matching documentation. So if you do not have your DD-214 currently on you, you can take a minute, grab your form, come back, and choose this option to complete verification a second time, but they're the request your DD-214 option. As you can see, this form is very similar. It's going to ask you for basically the same information with the additional points of verification that was on the original form, such as your first and last name. But there are also some additional sections. As you can see, there's the most recent service period component. This component page is going to ask for, first of all, your service component for when you're in the service. So when you're in the service, you were active duty. You want to select the active duty option, select the correct service branch, as well as if you were an officer or if you were enlisted. Notice here there's the date entered as well as the date of release. For date of entry, this will be the date you were sworn in. As well as your date of release. The service number options also available if you have a service number available to you. If you do not recall your service number, or if you do not have one, don't worry about it. That's optional. You can skip it. And there's also this section which requests more information for verification, but it's optional. However, since you have your DD-214 on you, the entry location as well as the discharge location should be available to you. For your entry location, your discharge location, just enter the city and the location as depicted on the DD-214. If you can't recall your last unit assignment, also feel free to skip this part. But if you do have the last unit assignment depicted on your DD-214, type it out, because that will also give the IDME verification process more information to verify. The more information, the better when it comes to verification, if you want to keep that in mind. For the authorization agreements, check off all 3 authorizations. The reason why you'll want to check off all 3 authorizations is because you're basically giving IDME the verification or the clearance to do 2 things. First of all, you're letting them know that the information is correct to the best of your knowledge. And then number 2, you do understand that you are liable to the information that is being sent over to the IDME verification department. And just to reiterate, the information on this DD-214 will not be saved and will not be shared with another third party other than the IDME verification department. And once this form is successful verification, once they are able to find that matching digitized version of your DD-214, this form will be digitally destroyed, and a message indicating that you have been verified will be sent either to your browser or by email to the email address that you've used to sign up for IDME verification. Last thing, you'll want to sign this form to emphasize that you do agree to these terms, and that you do agree to the release of this DD-214. The signature that you sign, if you're using either a desktop or a laptop, there's 2 ways of doing this. If you're using a desktop, left click with your mouse in the touch within the signature box to hold down and basically write the best signature that you can. So left click with your mouse and hold down, and without letting go, try to trace in that box to try to release the best signature possible. And if your signature does not look right, you can always use a red X to erase it. If you're using a laptop, similar concept, use your pointer finger to left click down on the touchpad to hold down and try to scroll the best signature that you can that matches your real signature. You can always click on the red X to start over and start again, but you want to make sure that looks as accurate to your signature as possible. Now, we appreciate your patience through this verification tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us and ask for either Jeremiah or Ross in tech support. Otherwise, if you also want to shoot us an email, you can reach us at oms@vfw.org. That's oms@vfw.org. And we can also reply to any questions you have with regards to verification. We hope you have a good day, and let us know if there's anything else we can do for you. Goodbye.